You came here for one reason, and I know that reason. You want pretty little buttons like this one that give you a drop-down menu to change your class, or a button to use an emote, or even a button to pick your mounts, or a button to get to menus, or really anything else. And it's actually a lot more simple than it seems, but the way some people explain this stuff on YouTube confuses me so much, and I had to watch like 5 different videos just to figure this out. So hopefully this one video can explain everything to you. I'm going to try to explain it in as much detail as I can, so let's just get right into it. I don't want to waste your time. To start out, we're going to be using my DPS button as my #1 example, and then we're also going to use my Dragoon button for my first example. But before we even go into those examples, what I need you to do is go to System, go to Character Configuration, go to Hotbar Settings, and go to Sharing, and make sure that most of your hotbars are not shared. For me personally, I only have 2 hotbars that are shared, which are hotbar 9 and 10, so if you want to go along with me, then just make those ones shared and make the rest not shared. That'll be the easiest way for you to do this if you just follow what I'm doing, but if you're doing something different, then you might have to improvise a little bit. But for example, the hotbars that are shared are my hotbar 9, which is the one on the right, and hotbar 10, which is the one on the bottom. And as you can see, hotbar 9 has a bunch of buttons that make drop-down menus, and hotbar 10 also has buttons that make drop-down menus. And the reason why you want those 2 specific ones shared is because you want them to always be there. So if you change a class, it's still there, but you definitely don't want certain hotbars to be shared. So for example, for me, hotbars 6, 5, 7, and 8 are not shared, and making them shared would actually break this. So you do actually need to spare some hotbars in order to make this work. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty of things. What you're gonna need first is you're gonna need a class that has the job zone taken off. So if you have Bard unlocked, for example, you're going to want to use Archer. If you have Paladin, you're going to want to use Marauder. If you have Ninja, you're going to want to use Rogue, something like that. So then the Soul Crystal is off. And the reason you want to do this is because you actually need to use these classes' hotbars as placeholders for all the buttons. You want to take their abilities off and replace them with lines of buttons. So getting into the user macros window, like I said, we're going to use my DPS button as example #1, and then we're also going to use my Dragoon button as example #2. So let's start with my DPS button. This is the one that makes a drop-down window of all of my DPS classes that I want to swap to really quickly. So the first command is /hotbar copy Archer 2 current 8, and let me show you what that actually means. So if I switch to Archer, this right here is my Archer 2 hotbar. I'm just going to show you this just to be sure. Hotbar 2 on my Archer class. So that's why it says Archer 2. And current 8 is just hotbar 8, which is right here. This one is not shared, but it's right next to my drop-down menu hotbar. So what this is doing is it's copying Archer 2, this one right here, to hotbar 8, which is right here. It's as simple as that. It just copies this to this, and then I have an X button which just makes it disappear, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then the second command here is /hotbar display 8 on. So the reason it's display 8 is because it's copying Archer 2 to current 8, so you want 8 to actually show, otherwise it won't show the buttons. And the reason why I have this third command /hotbar display 7 off is because my emotes button actually shows hotbar 7 and 8, so I can show you that right here. It says hotbar display 8 on, hotbar display 7 on, because it's copying 2 different rows. So then when I click the DPS button, it hides the left row because I don't want that row of emotes to still be there. So if we go to my tank one, it's the exact same thing. You can see right here, copy Archer 1 to current 8, so it's the same hotbar every time. So for my tank button, it would copy Archer 1 right here to hotbar 8 right here. Now let's go into the Dragoon button. So you don't have to do this first button. I just think it makes it look a bit cooler. But what I did here for my first command is /m icon Soul of the Dragoon item, which is just changing the icon of this button to the Dragoon Soul Crystal, which I just think looks cool. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but the important thing is /gs change 31. What this is doing is it is changing my gear set to number 31, which if we look right here, my number 31 is Dragoon. That's why it's 31. So if I wanted to swap to like Bard or something, let's say I want to swap to Bard, I would put a 7 here instead of 31. So let's look at my Bard one, boom, change to 7. And then the bottom command here is /hotbar display 8 off, which what this does is it makes it so then when I click this button, it just makes the hotbar disappear when I change my class, because you wouldn't want that to be there, because that would defeat the purpose of it being a drop-down menu. And yeah, pretty much what you would do is you would just do this for every class that you want on the row. So for example, I did this with Dragoon, Reaper, Bard, Black Mage, Machinist, Summoner, Ninja, Red Mage, Blue Mage, Dancer, and Samurai. And the reason why I'm clicking on all these is because I want to show you everything that they say in case you don't know what to write down, because sometimes people do not show, actually a lot of the time, people do not show what's actually written down on most of their macros, and you just got to figure it out. But I just showed you all of them, so if you need any of them, then you can pause it right there. But yeah, Hotbar 2 has all of these different buttons, and I just showed you what all of them look like. And again, just make sure that yours is changed relative to your own gear sets. So it would be /GS change whatever number is on the right class that you want to change to for each button. Just make sure you have that accurate and you should be good. And then as long as you did it properly, it should work perfectly fine. Now, real quick, let's just get into the X buttons that I have on all of these. This one is also pretty simple. I'm pretty sure it's this button right here. What this does is it just turns off all of the extended hotbars that I have. So then if I ever just want to close everything, so let's say I just have like all of these open right here, and then I click the X anywhere, it's going to turn hotbar 6, 7, and 8 off. So that would be 6, 7, 8. It just turns all of them off. So then I have an X button to get out of any menu that I want to. You don't have to do this. I just think it looks pretty cool. You could also have a universal X out button, which I have right here in case I want to use it. And if you want a visual, that is just at the bottom of my hotbar 9. And the reason why they're in weird positions is because I like having it so then when I click a button, the X is right next to it in case I click the wrong button and I just want to go over to it. But what you should also have on every button, if I just go through right here, you're going to see that each button has like something display on and display something off. So then every time you click a button, it should just change to the right thing. So just make sure that you have these on. And let's just go through my emotes button real quick. So I changed the icon to the dance emote, so it looks like this. And this one is copying over two different hotbars. So it's copying Rogue 5 to current 8 and Marauder 5 to current 7. And it's also turning display 8 on and display 7 on because it's going to 7 and it's going to 8. So we want those to be visible. So for example, my Rogue 5 is right here, and then my Marauder 5 is right here. So it is copying those two to these two. From this point, honestly, it's just a rinse and repeat. You're going to want to do pretty much the same command for every class or every button that you want to do. And just to be crystal clear, I'm going to go through another thing, which is my crafters, because these are done a little bit differently. As you can probably tell, I don't have the button for every crafter over here because that's just a lot of buttons. And also, crafters don't have soul crystals, so I can't get a cool visual for them. So for my crafters button, /hotbar copy Rogue 1 to current 8, which if we look right here, Rogue 1 right here, this is my Rogue class, and it is hotbar number 1 going over to current 8, which is right there. I know I'm explaining this like you're a baby, but I'm just trying to be super crystal clear because every other video I've seen on this topic is so confusing. But also, let me show you an example of what you can do if you want to make things a little bit easier on yourself, if you don't want to go through and make every icon the actual class soul crystal. If you go over to your gear set list, you can literally just drag the icon out of it and then put it on the hotbar that you want. So I'm going to overwrite Fisher real quick just to show you. So what that should do is on this one, I overwrit Fisher. So Rogue is now here. And then if you click it, it'll just change you to Rogue. Yo, I'm editing this video right now and I just came across this part. If you do it this way, you might not be able to make it automatically close the hotbar when you press the button. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna go through and click on every button again just to show you the writing on all of them, because something that a lot of people do when they make tutorials like this is they do not show you every macro that they have, and I just want to show you every macro that I have so then you know what is what. And these bottom three right here, this is actually my Rogue one, so my gear set 4 is actually Rogue, and then my gear set 37 is Archer, and my gear set 9 is Marauder. That's for this button right here, so then I can just edit my macros easily. Here's my DPS button, here is my tank button, here is my healer button, which just displays all my healers. That's what all these do, they display the classes. And then my emote button, which displays these lines of emotes. And my crafters button, which displays all of my crafters and gatherers. And then also we have my mounts button, which just displays a bunch of mounts that I might want to ride. And then I have this like settings button, which copies Marauder 1 to current 6. So just for another example, Marauder 1 looks like this, and guess what? It turns into this because this is hotbar 6. Here is the X button again, and then this one is just a couple like little special abilities like Dig, Wondrous Tales, Desynthesis, Glamour Plate, that kind of stuff. You don't need this button. Oh, and here's a really, really useful button if you ever want to use this. This is for like gathering and shit like that. This button is a godsend, so I just want to show this to some of you because I love this button. What this does is it automatically locks onto the nearest node or the nearest NPC and just walks to it automatically. It's perfect. I love this button. So if you ever want to try it out, then just do it and you might thank me later. And just for the sake of doing it, I'm just going to show you every other macro that I have because I might as well. This one makes it so then when you click it, you instantly ride on your friend's mount if it's a 2-seater, and if you're in their party, it should just get on it immediately, which is really sick. These are my stupid crafting keybinds or macros that you don't really need to care about because they're outdated. This one just displays these old classes, and I made it an up arrow because why not? This one's useless. I don't even know why I still have that one. I'm just gonna delete it. And I think that's it. Pretty sure I showed you all of them. I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, then maybe just try rewinding and watching again. Maybe it'll make sense the second time around. I don't know. I tried to explain this as best as I possibly could, so I hope I did a good job. If I did do a good job, then subscribe if you're new. I would appreciate it. And if you're already subscribed, then just drop a like. Thank you. And please leave a comment if you have any questions, or just leave a comment if it works, because I want to know if this is actually helping people. Because if it isn't, I might need to do a part 2. And if you have any questions, ask them because I'll do my best to answer as long as I have the resources to do that. And yeah, with all that being said, I will see you later. Have a good night, guys.